welcome to YouTube, Gallifrey02. In this video I'm going to be counting down my top 10 Sixth Doctor stories. Now Colin Baker played the Sixth Doctor from 1984 to 1986, and in his time of playing the Doctor he starred in only 11 television stories, and if you count Trial of a Time Lord as a whole story that makes it 8, but I count it as 4 different stories. So 11 stories. It's not enough to do a top 10, so I have incorporated some Doctor Who audios into the mix. So without further ado, let's begin. So at number 10, we do have Colin Baker's first stories for Doctor, which is the Twin Dilema. And I'm not joking, the Twin Dilema is on a so bad it's good level. This story is so bad, it's actually quite good and quite amusing. Yes, the acting is really bad in this story, I can't deny it. But yeah, I find the plot quite creative, I find the set quite creative, I find the concept of this story quite imaginative, and yeah, that's why I put it in at number 10. And it's a good start to Colin Baker's era, as you get the real feel of what Colin Baker's Doctor will feel like. So, at number 9, we do have the first Colin Baker story I watched, and this is The Two Doctors. Now, The Two Doctors is possibly one of the most dragged out Doctor Who stories ever. This story has so many elements which are not needed whatsoever. This story would work just as well as a two-parter rather than a three-parter. A three-parter is far too long for this story, but this story has a very good plot, and Patrick Troughton's return in this story really makes this story a lot better, because without Patrick Troughton, this story would not be on the list. The only reason why this story is on this list because of Patrick Troughton, who is one of my favourite classic Doctors. And yeah, the Sontarans, they don't do much in this story. The Seville setting doesn't do much either. Yeah, this story is pretty bland, but yet has an okay plot and Patrick Troughton. So at number 8, we do have a Big Finish audio. This is the Sirens of Time. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a multi-Doctor story starring Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. However, Colin Baker's performance in the Sirens of Time is absolutely amazing. It's a lot better than Sylvester McCoy's and Peter Davison's performance, as I think Sylvester McCoy's performance in this story isn't very good. He's not very confident, but yet Colin Baker's performance in this story is absolutely excellent. Yeah, the story for the Sirens of Time isn't the best, but Colin Baker in this story is absolutely amazing. It really makes his Doctor better. At number 7, we do have the final part of Trial of a Time Lord. This is The Ultimate Foe, parts 13 and 14 of Trial of a Time Lord. Now, this is a very psychedelic story, and I like psychedelic stories. This story is so imaginative, so creative, so abstract. It's one of the most abstract Doctor Who stories ever. And yeah, very good in my opinion, very imaginative, and a great way to end Trial of a Time Lord, and it is Colin Baker's last story as the Doctor, apart from at the beginning of Time and Varani, but that doesn't count as a story. This is his last ever full story, and in this story we learn about a future incarnation of the Doctor called the Valeyard. Then at number 6, we do have Attack of the Cybermen. Now, Attack of the Cybermen is a great story in my opinion, a great return to the Cybermen, and in this story Colin Baker's Doctor feels a lot more fresh than he did in the Twin Dilema. His acting skills have developed since then, and I think Colin Baker's performance in this story is excellent. Yes, I'm talking about Colin Baker's performance rather than the stories, as I don't think many of Colin Baker's era stories are that good. So yeah, Attack of the Cybermen, a very good plot in my opinion, very imaginative as well. Like a lot of Colin Baker stories, they're all very imaginative, and yeah, Colin Baker's era as the Doctor feels very much like a sci-fi show, a lot more than other Doctors, as a lot of the stories are set in space. So yeah, Attack of the Cybermen, a brilliant story in my opinion. Now moving on to number 5. So at number 5, we do have parts 5 to 8 of Trial of a Time Lord. This is Mindwarp. Mindwarp. Now Mindwarp sees the return of Sil, who is quite an annoying Doctor Who villain. When I say quite annoying, I mean very annoying. He's the most annoying Doctor Who character ever. But I liked it. I find Sil very menacing and very evil. Yeah, menacing and evil character, which I like about Sil's character. And yeah, Trial of a Time Lord, Mindwarp is a very good story in my opinion. Very horrible, I think. It's a very disgusting story, but yet I really like the plot and the performance in this story, which makes it a lot better. If it didn't have that performance and that element to the story, which I can't really describe, this story wouldn't be very good at all, as there's lots of goo and stuff like that, very disgusting stuff in this story. But yeah, I like it apart from that stuff. So at number 4, we do have a radio play. This is Slipback. Now Slipback is the first ever Doctor Who radio play, and I think the first ever audio drama for Doctor Who. And Slipback is an amazing Doctor Who audio in my opinion. Really, really good. And yet this story was actually made so fans would be more connected to the Sixth Doctor, as a lot of people didn't like the Sixth Doctor on television. This really changed Doctor Who's fans' minds, and certainly changed my mind on Colin Baker's Doctor. I think it's a very good plot, and yeah, again, very an imaginative story. So at number 3, we do have another Big Finish audio. This is Judoon In Chains, the second of the classic Doctor's New Monsters range, and my second favourite story from the classic Doctor's New Monsters range. Yet this is third on my top 10 Sixth Doctor stories, and Fallen Angels was 5th on my top 10 5th Doctor stories. However, Colin Baker's era overall is worse than Peter Davison's, in my opinion. So yeah, Judoon In Chains, absolutely amazing. Colin Baker's performance in this story is absolutely stunning. A really good put together story, very similar to Smith and Jones, apart from a court gets taken to Mars rather than a hospital getting taken to a moon. Again, very imaginative, and yeah, like to see Captain Kaibo, the Judoon interact with Colin Baker and getting used to Victorian England. It's very good, and yeah, very, very good in my opinion. So yeah, moving on to second place. So at number 2, we do have the Mysterious Planet, the first segment of Trial of a Time Lord, and in my opinion, my favourite out of Trial of a Time Lord. Now, this is an absolutely amazing story, absolutely stunning. It's set 2 million years in the future as immortal robots, and yet has a very, very good plot, and a very controversial plot as well. Just one thing which annoys me about the story, in episode 2, when the Doctor is running away from the villagers and then he comes across one of the robot's guards, he is trapped and he's like, what am I gonna do next? I'm going to die. But yet earlier on in the episode, we saw the Doctor in the future, okay and well. It's the worst Doctor Who cliffhanger ever. But other than that, this story is absolutely amazing. So, in first place, it's not a joke, we do have one of Colin Baker's best. You will love it. This is what he said in the 5-ish Doctors reboot. This is Vengance On Varos Special Edition. Well, at least that's what the DVD is, and this is about the story, not the DVD in general. So Vengance On Varos, an amazing story, the introduction to Sil, and one of my favourite, well, my favourite Colin Baker story. Why would it not be at number 1 if it wasn't my favourite story? So Vengance On Varos, an amazing story in my opinion, a definite 10 out of 10. This story is absolute gold. Yeah, very violent this story, but yeah, has an amazing plot, and yeah, great in my opinion. Vengance On Varos, a 10 out of 10. So yeah, that concludes my list for my top 10 Colin Baker stories as the 6th Doctor. Please let me know what your favourite is in the comments below, and until the next time, goodbye.